Ladies and gentlemen, today on the podcast, I have the privilege of sitting down and being inspired and blown away by the wisdom of Mike Egan. If you watch the 2026 BPN Last Man Standing race, Mark Dowdle, who I have a lot of love and respect for, who won the race, 308 miles, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it wasn't even the biggest storyline coming out of that race. Mike Egan was. Mike is an above-the-knee amputee where he suffered the loss of parts of his legs while on deployment in Afghanistan while serving our great country. No words for that, Mike. You are an absolute legend, and I have the most respect for anyone who has offered their life on the line for our great country. Mike then takes me through this story of resilience and courage and literally building himself from the ground up to get to the point where he's setting these Guinness World Records in the wheelchair. Last year, he set the greatest distance in a wheelchair in 24 hours, covering 152.37 miles on November 11th, 2025, which was Veterans Day. And then at the BPN, Go One More Last Man Standing, he went 27 laps, 110 plus miles, and finished 27th overall, outlasting 117 other competitors. And Mike is a legend. He probably could have kept going if it wasn't for the rain stopping his wheelchair in the mud. And he shares all these stories, all this backstory. He's a legend. So I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm recording this right after the conversation with him. Honestly, he's partly choked up, like just the way that he embodies courage and determination and making something of yourself with the worst of circumstances while serving our country and the sacrifice that it required of him. I don't have words for. So I hope you enjoy this one. If you do, share it with a friend, 5-star review, and make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss another conversation with an athlete like Mike or someone who has a great story. I release a new podcast every other day straight to your podcast feed, so make sure you're subscribed. Check out the links below, including our merchandise company, luminarythreads.shop. More drops in the future. And in the meantime, be inspired. Enjoy this conversation with an absolute legend, Mike Egan. Mike Egan, let's say I had no clue who you are. We get on an elevator together. I ask, what's your story? You have 60 floors to take me through it. Where are you starting?
Oh man, elevator pitch, huh? Dad, Marine veteran, coach, athlete, and dude that likes to do crazy stuff. Yeah.
The last part, dude who likes to do crazy stuff. Was that born throughout the years, or did you always have that dog within you?
I would say it was always there. I just didn't tap into it fully. And I needed to experience different avenues to get to that point. So it was there. I just didn't know how to let the dog out. But he's out and running around now.
Full sprint mode, baby.
Yeah.
Do you think that most people have the dog within them, or do you think some have it, some don't?
I think it's based off your experiences and what you're willing to put yourself through. I think for everyone, some level of adversity needs to happen in your life or hardships to realize that you can withstand that. And that realization helps you tap into your potential. And I have had my fair share of involuntary hardships that otherwise probably wouldn't have led to where I am today. So, short answer, yes, I think everyone does. But I think it takes work.
For those who aren't familiar with your story, can you walk them through, however much or as little as you want to, some of the adversity you've gone through in life?
Yeah. One of the big ones, definitely my time in the military. I served in the Marines. I joined in 2008, deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 or early 2012. And while on that deployment, I served as a squad leader. We went on several very kinetic helo-borne operations, and it was a hard time. And during one of those missions, I stepped on IED and was injured. Became a bilateral above knee amputee, and basically had to learn how to do life all over again. So very, at the ripe age of 23, I just get my whole world turned upside down, and had to figure out where I fit in the world.
I'm assuming you're a believer in God at this point?
I have my beliefs. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that moment change those, or where were you at? Like, I'm curious, when something like that happens, I'm assuming you say like, why me? What were some of the questions you were asking yourself at that point?
I wasn't asking a lot of those questions early on. I was just grateful to still be here. Especially early on in my recovery, it was just so thankful to still be here, and I was surrounded by people I cared about, and I had all this support, and everything was great. And I think just over time, um, once all that support started to go away, I was kind of on my own. I really was faced with the realization of like, oh, I have not worked through all this stuff that I endured. And yeah, then the hard questions came, the hard realizations of what do I do now? So yeah, a lot of those questions came, and it took a long time to find some answers to them for sure.
I want to ask you this question because I see a lot of people in my life, and even if I'm being honest, myself at times go through life with the victim mentality. And I hear stories like yours. I see stories like yours. And being blunt with you, we can turn on the E for this episode. I'm like, I'm such a bitch. Like, what? Why am I complaining? What are your thoughts on the victim mentality that corrodes most people's minds and lives?
Um, you know, Adversity really has two options. It can destroy you or make you better, and the only difference between those two is a choice. The choice you make for yourself. So I've been in situations where I've leaned both ways. I let it destroy me for a long time. I grieved, I suffered, um, and then I made the choice to be better because of it. So it really just comes down to, I went through this thing. What am I going to do about it now? How is this going to affect my life, or am I going to be better because of it? And when you start asking those questions to yourself, it really zooms out the perspective of, I'm still here, I'm still healthy, I'm capable. Am I going to let this thing destroy me? And the answer should always be no.
What would you say to someone listening today who struggles and throws pity parties for themselves?
I would say change something in your life. It could be big, it could be small. If you don't, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You can easily be stuck in a victim mentality of woe is me. Life is just gonna beat me down left and right. Cool. What is that gonna do for you? Being stuck in that kind of mindset of everything is working against me. Like, change your perspective, change your routine, change who's in your life, change what you do in your day to day. Something needs to change, and it won't unless you get out of your comfort zone and do something different.
Obviously, they're the examples of people who go through life with the full-on victim mentality, but then there are, individuals, I think myself included, who generally are pretty okay, but then, there are days where nothing's really going right and they just like throw in the towel. What would you say to the people who generally have a positive disposition, but can be easily swayed by negative events?
I mean, my my first question to be is like, why is that thing swaying you away from what you want to do or who you want to be? Like, what power does there's you need to be able to just take control of what you can, and then let go of what you can't. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, especially nowadays, is just letting go of stuff that's out of your control, and focusing on what you can control. And once you make that choice, it makes things a lot simpler. Um, and I think people tend to overanalyze, overthink, about the most basic problems, and just simplify things a little bit. Don't overcomplicate things in your life when they don't need to be overcomplicated.
I love the quote. I must have saw it a few years ago. When life doesn't challenge you, challenge yourself. And very few people go through actual legitimate suffering in their life. And we're taking away all the suffering with DoorDash, and like you can do anything at the tip of your fingers. And so it's
Yeah.
so important to go through chosen suffering. That's why I always say, whether you experience, like the crazy effects of running or lifting or whatever challenge you choose to pursue, it's almost less about the physical attributes and more about becoming the type of person who does something hard in a world where almost everything is easy.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like, just like you said, today's day and age, it's so easy. It's so easy to be comfortable in your day to day life from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Like, everything now is just delivered straight to your door, groceries, food, you can go out to eat, you have internet. If you have questions, like, you have AI that'll create training plans for you, like all this crazy stuff that's out there and so easily accessible that it almost deters people from pushing outside of their comfort zone or trying something new or hard. They're like, why would I do that? I can watch someone else do that on Netflix and get motivated and then forget about it the next day. Um, and they're missing out on the true message of people who are willing to go out there and do that. um, and it's the pursuit of finding a deeper meaning in yourself.
What would you say to the person who watches your content, appreciates it, but doesn't actually let it change their life in any substantial way?
Um, for anyone that misses the message, I would say, you know, it's unfortunate when that happens because I got into this because um, initially it was really good for my mental health. I think endurance is the number one, or any sport, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone is the number one way to cure depression, to get you out of a rut, to make you realize what you're capable of. And I enjoy the fact that by doing what I do, it helps empower and enrich other people's lives and come to the realization that they are capable of more than what they think, because they can see me and my physical limitations and be like, oh, that guy's doing it, I can go do that. And I think it's a gift, to be able to give that to other people and it be so easy to digest and see without having to water it down with a bunch of speeches or anything. Just be like, look at the work I can do. If I can do this, you can too. um, and I hope that message comes across from a positive place, and people receive it well. um, but I also am not one that enjoys the spotlight too much. But after this past race, it's been overwhelming, the responses, and people telling me, oh, I went for a run today for the first time in years, or I have a disability and I decided to get into this sport. Like, the message is reaching even one person I'm happy that it could benefit from.
Have you heard of Ashley Jones?
No.
Okay, I got to connect you to. She's a good close friend of mine. She's been on my podcast 3 times. But you guys would love each other. You hold very similar like beliefs and styles. I think she was 14 at the time. Her dad tragically died, heart attack, like totally unexpected. So a 14-year-old girl, that's obviously going to be like a traumatic life experience. She's from Colorado. 3 months later, gets in an ATV accident, fully loses, forget if it was her right or left arm, but fully loses her arm 3 months later. So like, craziest 3 months back to back, heartbreak, lifetime situations that very few people ever go through. Um,
Hmm.
and she discovers running thereafter and became one of the best runners in the NCAA. She just graduated. She had an NIL deal with On. On doesn't sign every person in the world. Like, it's pretty exclusive. But we have similar conversations to these all the time where she's the most like joyful person ever, super badass. And those are the people I love talking to, because it's like, it's so beautiful that you chose this path of life when you could have just thrown a pity party for yourself and honestly kind of been justified. Statistically, it is an anomaly, right? Like, you decided to join the military and with the risk of giving it all up for the country that you love and hold dear. And, something crazy happened. And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of veterans you talk to, when negative events happen, it's just like their life's over and they choose that mindset and perspective. And if that was you, the people's lives you changed, you would have never heard of those people, and their life may have never changed in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I I definitely went through my hard times, because I mean there were several. There was a point where I didn't leave my house for a year. I struggled, and I think I struggled worse than I should have, because um, I didn't really take the time to do the work, and I didn't. I focus on how do I escape from having to think about these bad thoughts, or what can I do to distract myself. And I think if you're not careful, that can be a vicious cycle that you just get stuck in. And it's just like compartmentalizing all your issues, all your problems, and just shoving them down and just keep moving. And I did that for a long time. And I still work through a lot of stuff. But I discovered that by pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, I was forced to face a lot of the stuff that I just packed down. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is good for my mental health, and I love helping people. I love being of service. This is meaningful to me. Um, so combining those two things, I repurposed my suffering. And I think that's an important realization for people to make, is there is purpose in suffering if you take the time to discover what it is.
Before going deeper into that, because I'd love to, it's a great line right there. And by no means am I trying to draw a line between someone going through heartache and what you went through, but the general principle still stands of so many people run away from emotions. I've seen many Instagram reels. My algorithm must be listening to me, or listening to me ahead of time of this conversation, where people talk about, psychologists talk about, like, people use their phones, use TV, use, even dudes will use working out after a breakup as sort of like a cope. Like, it's a positive thing, but how many people did you know over the years who girl breaks up with them, or they break up with a girl, heart's broken, they get jacked. It's like, yeah, the result's positive, but you ran away from the hard work that you needed to do. And I love, maybe Under Armour coined the like motto, the only way is through, a few years ago. And I love that. So can you speak more to, like, hey, your problems will never run away from you. You have to confront them straight on. The thoughts that you have, the things that you struggle with, the even stories from childhood. If you had messed up parents, like, you got to work through that stuff. It'll haunt you.
Yeah. I First off, I hope no one ever compares their hardships to anyone else. That's already setting yourself up for failure. Like, I hope when um, it does kind of bother me to a certain extent when people are like, I have no excuse because Mike did this. Like, everyone's hardships is their own. And no matter what you experience in your life, like, if a breakup was the hardest thing you ever endured in your life, that's still like that's a huge dip in your life that you need to come back from, right? And I think it's only that level of suffering and exposure to yourself that matters, and how you overcome that. So um, I don't want people to be like, Mike has suffered so much more than me. I have no excuse. Like, don't compare yourself to me. I don't compare myself to anyone else. There's people that have done and been through way more than I have. but I focus on my life and what I need to work on to be the best version of myself. Um, and you know, I think the important aspect people need to focus on is just how can I be better, or what do I want to improve on in my life? Can I take this opportunity, or whether it doesn't even have to be fitness. Like, everyone thinks, oh, I just need to go work out to work through my problems. Like, no, you need to get out of your comfort zone, or you need to do something you're passionate about that kind of scares you, because there needs to be a something to chase, that there is a possibility of failure. It needs to scare you a little bit, and it needs to get you out of your comfort zone. And it doesn't have to be fitness. It could be applying for this job you don't think you qualify for. It could be going and learning painting. It could be writing music. Whatever inspires you, or makes it feel like this isn't work to me. This is what I'm passionate about in my life, and this is how I want to positively impact my life, and then possibly impact other people's lives. And I think I think people are scared to fail, and that's the biggest issue, is that everybody wants to be a success. They want their life to be a success. They only want to show people their successes. And failure is just this one thing we don't talk about. Like, every race I've done, I've failed. Like, I've never won anything. I never won at the CrossFit Games. I didn't win the BPN race. I have a Guinness World Record, but that was against one person. Um, so I mean, like, I've never won any competition I've competed against other people. But they are so valuable to me in that experience and that time, that I got so much out of that through failing. And I wish people would be less afraid to fail.
I love it. A man of many quotes. I can tell you that much from my 20 minutes. So take me through the version of yourself that doesn't leave your house for a year, to then the version that does 152 miles, sets the Guinness World Record. I think a lot of people are missing what happened in that in between. Can you walk me through some of it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even realize it at the time that I was secluding myself to that extent. It started off small. At the time, I was in college, and just like super overwhelmed with the classes and being surrounded by people a lot younger than me. Um, and I was just like, I need to, like, I'm gonna do some online classes, because like this is too overstimulating for me. Still post military, working through a lot of stuff. So it's just like, I'm gonna cut back to some online classes. At the time, I was living by myself in my house, um, and once I cut back to online classes, I didn't get out of the house too much. And then I was just like, I don't really feel like going to the grocery store. I'm gonna get my groceries delivered. And then the more I secluded myself and quit like putting myself out there, I looked for every way possible to not get out of my house. Even like family gatherings or anything else, like, I would find an excuse or anything. And I realized, I was like, one day I just woke up and I was like, I haven't left my house in a year. Like, what happened this year? Like, everyone would call me, that even they check in and be like, everything's great. Like, I'm still going to school. I would leave out the fact that I haven't even left my house. But I'm like, life is great. Everything's going good. And I just developed this facade that um, everything was fine. And I believed that. Even in my mind, I told myself everything's fine. Like, this is normal. Um, and then I came to that realization that I hadn't left my house in a year, and I was like, something has to change. Like, I'm avoiding something. Um, and I really sat down and kind of decided to work through some stuff that I was avoiding. And it took time. Like I small steps. Like I would go out and I tried to get in my truck and go do something, and I couldn't even start my truck because the transmission died. So working through that issue, and then going out, just going to the grocery store myself, and just like putting myself back out there um, was super. It was just small stuff. And I think a lot of people who have dealt with like heavy depression can kind of relate to that, of just, even it seems like so small to most people, but it's like such huge victories of just doing something outside of your norm, of maybe a little uncomfortable, and just keep doing that every day. And that's kind of where I started. Is I was like, I'll put myself back out there again. I'll go back to in-person classes, and I finished, got my degree, and then um, you know, never ended up using my degree. And then I was like, what am I passionate about? And started chasing coaching. I started coaching and becoming a personal trainer, and then eventually working with people with disabilities. So I just kept chasing something that made me feel good, and helped others in the process, because that's what I was passionate about. So um, just keep chasing that good feeling, whatever speaks to you, um, and that's what has led me to where I am today.
When did you realize you had such a gift for moving a wheelchair so fast and so long?
I never did really until, I mean, I started competing in adaptive CrossFit in 2021. I was a really strong dude. I loved hitting the gym. I loved lifting heavy weights. And every year at the CrossFit Games, I was like, you always discover like what your weak points are and what you need to work on, because it's in CrossFit. It's an overall fitness test of everything: gymnastics, strength, endurance, everything. So I always sucked at cardio, like any form of cardio. I won every strength event. Any short workouts, I usually won or placed really well. Um, but every event that was like 10 minutes or more with like heavy cardio, I was just so bad at. And every year I kept like slowly working on it. But it was always just like my weak point. So my third and last year of competing at the CrossFit Games, um, I was just like, I feel like my overall fitness level is good. I think I got what I needed from the sport. I really want to lean into what I suck at and just focus solely on that instead of this broad spectrum of fitness. I was like, I want to attack what is uncomfortable to me, because that's what I've done for over, a decade now, of just being like, I'm bad at this. Why don't I see where this leads? And it was bad. Like my first 3 miles outside the house, I was sucking wind. Like cars were stopping to check on me. They're like, "Are you okay?" And it was like, I don't know, 11, 12-minute miles. Like I was really bad at it. But I just kept doing it, and I kept showing up, and I was like, I'm gonna do this 3 times a week and see how it goes. And just progressively got a little better. And then I started like taking the coaching approach. I started tracking, and I was seeing progress, and I really enjoyed seeing that progress. And then I started enjoying endurance in and of itself. And once I got to that point of actually enjoying it, I was like, why don't I set a goal for myself? And I just went full bore and decided to go after a Guinness World Record. So, um, yeah, that was a interesting change of events for sure.
We've talked about a common theme and line in this conversation is you can kind of become anything. You can turn yourself into anything. Nothing changes if nothing changes. One of my favorite quotes is, you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. You can sort of change any circumstance in the moment. And all sort of humans have assumptions, including myself. So when I see a dude with Guinness World Records, I assume he had some base talent in that thing. Most of the runners I talk to who are Olympians, they were winning their races in middle school. Why did you continue to keep wanting to get better in this thing that you sucked at in the beginning?
Um, I liked where it forced me to go in my own head. Like, there's something about ultra endurance that you can quit at any moment. Like, no one's forcing me to keep going. Like, I have to battle the voices in my head that be like, "Hey, this is enough. You can stop here." Um, and it's a conscious decision you have to make repeatedly to keep going when you want to stop. And I don't feel like you can get that in a lot of other sports or avenues of just going until you can't anymore, or seeing how far you can go. Um, and I think ultra endurance athletes are the best problem solvers because you literally have to shut that voice off repeatedly as you're going through and you're pushing yourself to the extremes. And it makes everyday problems feel like nothing. Like I can just be like, oh, well, I'm stuck in traffic. Okay, that's another 10 minutes. I'll get there eventually. It just makes everything else feel so minimal when you know that in the extreme pressures of what you've been through, you can push through that. Um, and I am really good at not giving up and not quitting. And I was like, I'm gonna find a sport that meshes well with that. Um, and so I just kept training and kept going for it. And yeah, I sucked at it. I trained for a whole year for that Guinness World Record, and just kept making small incremental changes over that year, and surrounded myself with people who knew more than me that helped guide me and support me in that. And, um, you know, eventually was able to perform well. And it's in large part because I just decided I'm going to do this and I'll do what it takes to get there. And that was it. That was just a simple decision of like, once I commit to something, it's done. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'm not going to let the daily voices in my head being like, oh man, you're tired. Like, no, like I set this goal for myself. If I'm off one day, I'm going to make up for it in the next. Like this is a moving train, and there's no stopping. So that I was like, 2020, before end of 2025, I'm hitting this thing, and that's what we did.
Sounds like you're big, as are a lot of the people who are successful in life. Crazy how that works. Big on not breaking the promises you have with yourself, right? I think culture talks a lot about, don't break the promises you have with others, but it's like, what's your relationship like with yourself? C-Bum, who, given that you're freaking jacked, I'm sure you know who that is. He posted this thing on Instagram earlier today. He goes, the easiest way to betray yourself is one small compromise at a time. And I hit.
Yeah, yeah. Funny thing about C-Bum is there's a group of kids in my gym that love to call me C-Bum on wheels, and it lights me up every time, man. That was like a month ago, and I'm still living on that high. Um, but yeah, no, it's true. Like compromises are, you know, it really derails it can derail so fast. Like you can have such good steam heading towards your goals. Like everyone that makes New Year's resolutions, they go hard, right? And they go hard for a few weeks, and then they hit that wall of like they're not used to this new routine. They're fatigued, maybe they're exhausted, maybe they're not sleeping well, and they take those issues and their problems, and they're like, oh, I'm going to sit this one out today and see how I feel tomorrow. And it's just those small compromises you make that can jeopardize your overall goal if you don't set up a plan for yourself and be like, okay, this is my mandatory rest day and I'm going to push it harder the next day. Like there needs to be a set plan of your goal. I make compromises every day in my training. I'm a dad of two. Like my schedule is ever changing. Like I just battled my 3-year-old before he got on this podcast to get her down for a nap. And I'm just like, oh, I might have to call him and tell him I'm going to be like 5 minutes late. Like my training revolves around my family. My family comes first. And that affects my training. But I also am like, okay, I'm having a later start today. I probably won't push as many miles, but I'll start earlier tomorrow and I'll tack on those miles and I make adjustments. And you need to have that level of determination and discipline in your goals to be successful. I think I do that more than most should have to. Like I used to think I was busy before I had kids, man. I don't even know what I was thinking. But like being a parent is just like so rewarding, and it just, if you're ambitious in your outside goals, you feel like you're constantly balancing a scale. And I will never let the balance of the scale lead more to my goals than my family. So um, it's don't compromise your goals altogether based on your circumstances, but focus on, if I need to compromise today, what am I going to do tomorrow to make up for it?
You talked about your training 2 responses ago, and that was a question I wanted to ask you going into today, just completely naive. Like, how do you train? And specifically for the BPN going more ultra, very unique situation compared to the average runner. Did you train for that similar to how those guys train for it, or was it entirely different prep?
Um, it's very different prep. I would say I was very conditioned, well conditioned, post the Guinness World Record. But it was a flat course, and I used my road chair. So I was very well conditioned for, pushing for extended period of time, minimal rest. But the BPM race was off road. Um, it had a lower mileage requirement than what I put for myself for the Guinness World Record, but it was a lot more. A lot more challenging to maneuver over rough terrain. Um, and it was much more, required more strength and endurance at certain portions of the race. So I, preparing for the BPN, I didn't log as many miles as you would think. Like I would log, I got my off-road chair built, and I would log maybe 8 miles a day. I would do like 2 simulated loops. I would have my rest, and then that was it. And then on the non-cardio days, I would do strength one day, and I would do push the next day, and I would alternate. Um, because I'm much more susceptible to injuries. You know, shoulder joint not as reliable as probably your leg joints. So I really focus on building strength while simultaneously logging miles. So yeah, my training probably looked very different leading up to that event, but I used the same coaches I had in the world record, and they've been working with me for a while. Omni Athlete, and they're phenomenal at programming and making sure that I'm healthy leading up to that event. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. There's not a lot of YouTube videos of um, or information out there on how to train for ultra marathons in a wheelchair, for sure.
When I look at it visually, I'm like, man, his arms must be burning. Is that the case? Like, what hurts the most in an ultra for you?
My lower back goes
Okay.
first. If you think about it, it's just like good mornings over and over and over again, like hinging constantly and using that momentum to help push you forward. Um, After my lower back, I would say my wrists definitely blow up a little bit. And then, once you're at 100 plus, like everything starts hurting a little bit. The shoulders, the back, the wrists, forearms. Um, yeah, it all starts to go. I reach a certain point when I push over 100 miles to where I can't even like close my hand. It's like barely
Wow.
can close it. But as long as I can get some point of contact on the wheels, I can keep pushing.
What's the C-bum in a wheelchair like gym structure? Drop the routine for the people out there.
Yeah. I have a very like boring routine that I hit like over and over again. I do tons of seated deadlifts to help alleviate the lower back pain, or strengthen that for these races that I'm doing. So I hit my posterior chain however I can. It's definitely harder as a seated athlete, but I'll still do some like banded exercises, some seated deadlifts, a lot of shoulder work, shoulder presses, um, hitting the chest from every angle, decline, regular bench press, incline. Not so much incline. I don't need incline too much, but I'll throw it in there and working the shoulders from every angle as well. Triceps, lots of tricep work. I very rarely work out my biceps, like ever.
Really?
The only exercise I really do is Zotman curls, to help with elbow pain. That's one of my like go-tos all the time. I used to have really bad elbow pain, and that rotational movement has been a game changer for me. But yeah, I never pick up heavier than 20-pound dumbbells to do bicep curls. Like I just
Wow.
don't. Yeah.
You don't care about big buys. Your wife doesn't. What's the reasoning behind that?
No, I mean, I think I just naturally got them, so it's like I don't need to
Well, that's
work
what I
on
was
them
going to
anymore.
ask you. Does the other stuff just work them out enough that you have?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's a supported element that I don't really need to like focus on, right? I'm not trying to win bodybuilding shows or look good. I'm trying to perform well.
Well, I
Um,
think you perform well and look good, but
oh, thanks.
I understand. I understand the messaging
Yeah.
behind it. What are you doing on bench? What's the max bench?
Ooh, I retested recently and it went down a lot, which I was I mean, I knew it would go down, but I was upset. I was no longer in the threes. I hit 285 fairly easily a couple months ago, I think. But I used to put up like 335, 340.
Dang,
Yeah,
it's
those
crazy.
are gone.
On to bigger and better things, though.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind? Again, you were on Nick Bear's podcast. People can check out your social. You got kids napping and a life outside this podcast, so I want to be time sensitive here. But so if people want to know more of the race, they can find it. But it obviously starts raining. Worst, you're really the only one truly affected by that. What's going through your brain as the storm's starting to come in?
Um, Man, it was supposed to rain like the day before the race, the day at the start of the race, and like 8 days after. Like I was so um, upset. Not really upset. I mean, I trained for months for this race because I was like, I have this opportunity. I'm going to show up and let them know that I belong here and that I work for this. And just knowing, because I trained in the rain, because I was like, this is a possibility. I know that could happen, so I need to be prepared. And it was always just super hard. Like I could still complete a loop where I was training, but it was like 58, 59 minutes just chugging away in the mud. And I knew I wouldn't be able to perform well. And the fact that the rain held out long enough to show people that I worked for this, um, was a blessing in and of itself. I'm super grateful I got to go out there and throw down for as long as I did, given the forecast that was expected. But when the rain hit, it was so much and it was so fast. It was like 2-3 minutes of rain and then it was gone. But it just dumped on us. and within like 10, 20 feet, my wheels were completely locked up. Like I didn't even have, uh, I got lots of comments like, why didn't he go in the grass? And I'm like, I didn't have time to react. Like it was literally one push and then the rain hit. And then by the time I got to the second push, it was already locking up. And then the next one, it was done. Like my chair was stuck. Um, and I'm sitting there, and that loop 20, because loop 27 is where the rain hit, but loop 26 was a hard loop for me. I was coming in at like 55 minutes, and I was like, okay, I need to pick it up. And that loop, I was sending it. Like I was way ahead of everyone else. Like I was going to come in at like 40 to 42 minutes, get like 20 minutes of rest, reset. And I had like a little over a mile left when the rain hit. And I had all this momentum and energy getting that loop done as fast as I could, and I was just stuck. And then the realization came of like, well, what now? Like I have two options. One, I can sit here and wait for someone to come save me, but I am not a helpless human being. I'm capable. I'm out here doing this, and I have a will to keep moving. My goal for the race was to discover how far I could push myself, and I wasn't going to let a limitation of a wheelchair prevent me from doing that. So I decided to get out on the ground and take it with me and drag it. And to me, it didn't seem abnormal. It was just, this is my circumstances I've been given, and I'm going to make the best of it. I wasn't going to let, some rain or anything else prevent me from seeing how far I could push myself. Um, so it was a simple decision, and I didn't know the impact it would have on people until I think I saw the other runners coming around the bend, and they were just like saying, "Holy crap," or, and just freaking out. And, we were out there for a good hour, just dragging the chair and eventually leaving the chair, and just moving on my hands and going for as far as I could until I had enough. So.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Going into this race, did you watch last year's race and did you know the possibility that your life could change overnight, or was that not really in the back of your mind?
I definitely watched the race, and the production and everything they do for that race is incredible. I love the film of the first race, but I had no intention of being like, oh, this could be my big thing, or like I thought I would just go do this race. I was thankful for the opportunity to one, be accepted into it. Like there's so many question marks with a dude in a wheelchair wants to go do an off-road race. Like what does that look like? And they had no reservations whatsoever. So I took that to heart. I was like, I'm gonna show them what I'm capable of. And that was it. That was the goal of just like, go hit the race. I'll go home to my family and resume life as normal. And yeah, life was not normal after. I mean, all amazing opportunities, people reaching out from all over the world. Like it was incredible. The response of, the footage they got out there, it had on people. But uh, I don't know. It's hard for me to accept that recognition. I'm grateful for it, but it's so, I don't know. It almost feels like undeserved because that's just who I am. I didn't think of it as like a big act or anything else. Like it was just a decision that when things get hard, I'm not going to quit. And I think everyone's capable of that decision. So, but I'm super thankful it resonated with so many people.
What message hit you the most when you were going through your phone after the race?
Oh man, this woman reached out to me, after she had watched the race. She's, I don't want to butcher exactly what she said, but she reached out to me and said, she's like, I saw what you did at the BPN race. And she's like, I've been in a really bad place. I just endured cancer. I've lost parts of my body from that cancer, and I just have not been in a good headspace, and not able to move forward with my life. And she said she saw that, and she decided to go for a run for the first time post recovering from her cancer, and set a PR. Like, she just went out there and just ran with her heart out. And she said it really made me open my eyes to saying this isn't the end for me. I'm capable of more than what I gave myself credit for. And that just like, and that's just one. And I got hundreds of people messaging me, and to hear those stories, and kids with disabilities saying that they're going to start, they want to start racing and do these races, and they were inspired. And I'm just, it's it's a gift undeserved, and I think I'm I will take full advantage of it for sure.
What's the message you want to leave with the audience today, or you want to leave with people who watch the BPN race, see your name on my podcast, click on it, is the first they've heard from you since the race? What do you want them to get out of sort of this year of Mike Egan 2026?
um what message do I want to leave with people? I would say I only want you to take from my story or what you've seen all the positives and forget the rest. I think you shouldn't idolize anyone. We are all imperfect. There's nothing more special about me than you. What I do is I take qualities of people I see and that I like, and I adapt them in my life. And I hope people take qualities of what they see in me that benefits them, and they use it, and then discard the rest, and just focus on how do I improve. What is, like, social media is such a crazy place of just successes and all these other things. And I just want people to take the positive that they can from my story and what I do, and take that and apply it to themselves. And if I'm no longer benefiting a person in any certain way, they outgrown me, then move on. Find someone new, and keep doing that. Motivation is not going to last forever. You need to find and consume things that will keep you moving. So I hope people do that when they see me, they see this race. Sure, I plan on doing some more crazy races, so stick along for the journey if it helps you. But, find qualities in people that you want to apply to yourself and use that.
Well, Mike, I don't think you're going to lose anyone from this conversation. I think you only gain people, but the heart in it still stands, and appreciate your honesty and vulnerability and wisdom. I certainly have been grown from this conversation. Closing up, I asked the same question. I used to ask sort of a fun question to close out the episodes, and then I was like, well, I want to end on a higher, deeper note. And so the core motto of my life, the core motto of this podcast is helping people turn their what ifs into realities. It was stemmed from my eighth grade self for the first time having the question, what if I start a podcast? And then taking action on that 2 years later and watching my whole life transform as a result. I certainly would not be talking with you today or any of the remarkable people that I've had the privilege of learning from had I not taken action on that what if. So final question for you. What is one what if that you've had in your life that you've taken action on, and how has taking action on that what if changed your life in the process?
Um, what ifs? I would say what ifs is hard for me because I don't really ask myself what ifs. Um, I I like the fact that I can fail. and I learn from those instances. So I don't ask myself, what if I succeed in this thing? Um, and I would say, what if, yeah, I mean, sure. What if it works out? Um, but I don't really ask myself what ifs. I would say, I'm like, I want to do this challenge and I really want to discover where I land. And then I'll take that opportunity and I'll learn from it. So yeah, I don't know if I've ever asked myself what if. Not once. I just do.
I love it. Sums up our conversation right there. You're a legend. You think outside the box, and it's an honor to share an hour with you. Keep crushing it, man. You have a supporter in me, and yeah, thank you for the sacrifice you made for our country, the ways you challenge yourself daily, and all the things you do to inspire a generation. Something I'll tell you, I feel called to share with you is it's um it's not even just the names you see of the people you inspire. It's the ripple effect of how those people then inspire other people. So keep pressing on, man. Change starts with one person. And I can certainly say a lot of people, it started with you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for this conversation. It's been awesome to get to chat with you and hope for nothing but continued success for you and what you're doing. And just like I said, do something that's kind of scary. You chose to start a podcast, when you were younger, and look at you now. Like, there was an opportunity of failure, and you chose to take it head on. And that's something to be proud of. And I hope other people make that decision as well. So, thanks again.